Abraham Wald was a mathematician. In World War II, he was invited in a team whose goal was to build the fighter plane's armor. The problem was that you can't put armor everywhere, it's too heavy. They had to decide the best place for the armor to put to keep the balance, flying, and protection. Officers investigated the planes that returned from the battles, and they found that they got the most hit around the body and only few around the engine. They came to the logical conclusion that they should put the most armor around the body. But not Abraham Wald. He said, we don't put the armor where the bullet holes are, but we put the armor where the bullet holes are not, on the engines. He asked the question to the group, where are the missing holes? The missing bullet holes were on the missing planes. Because the reason that planes returned from the battles with fewer holes around the engine was because the ones which got hit in the engine weren't coming back. Abraham Wald realized that studying the feedback on returning planes is just only half of the story. If he wants to understand the other half, he should use critical thinking. Half-truths like this are all around us in life and work. It's not the issue that they exist, but that we treat them as the truth. Let me just guide you, let's just discuss 3 of them together. Building the culture of feedback is almost every company's top priority. The underlying belief is that people need feedback. Even some authors argue that Gen Y, Z, and millennials need feedback more because they are addicted to social media. And they argue that the Facebook like and Instagram's love button increases the dopamine in human body, so they require feedback stronger. It may be true, but if we take a closer look, a different picture begins to emerge. A few years ago, Facebook implemented new emojis. Isn't it interesting? Why don't we have this like button? Do you think they didn't think of it? Snapchat, having 200 million users, don't use a single button for judgment. You just post a story and it automatically disappears in 24 hours. No pressure for feedback. If Snapchat example is any guide, it would seem that or social media is more about self-expression. It looks that attention is more valuable than feedback. When we give people feedback, in many companies, it is more about today than how do you perform for me? And less about how well do we work together. Attention, you may say that, feedback is more valuable and attention, and feedback is a kind of an attention. You're right, but it is only one type, and certainly not the most efficient one. It is a lot more easier to listen carefully, which is hard for managers, which is not easy for managers. But why should they? Just think of it. How many managers you promoted because they are good listeners? Yeah, you can count on your fingers. If we really want to improve our feedback culture, we should emphasize more attention than feedback.